All right, so this is the Liberty Hill ISD SHAC meeting for February 7th, 2022. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded, so if you would make sure that your mics are muted so that way we don't have any background information or noise coming in while people are sharing. If for some reason you do want to have a question or share something, either raise your hand and that way we can kind of wait and I can call on you, or if you want to put it into the chat, that's no problem as well. Each subcommittee is going to give an update kind of on where they're at and try to keep it at about 5 to 8 minutes roughly. I think the Sex Ed Subcommittee may need a little bit more time because it's just a little bit more comprehensive. So Sex Ed Committee, we're going to save you guys to the end so that way you can kind of wrap things up for us. Our next meeting is April 11th. And if we need to have like a mini meeting in between or a check-in, we can do that. The main reason we did the April 11th is one of the recommendations that we do need to make to the school board before the summertime is what our sex ed curriculum and program is going to be going in for the next several years. So that's why we kind of have that April 11th date. But again, those things change a lot. So if we need to have a meeting in between, we can. And also at the May meeting, we are going to give an update to the board just on our progress throughout the year, things that we've covered. And so we'll kind of work on that and how we want to do that around that April 11th meeting for the May school board meeting. All right, and we are hoping to have food service Shandon on here, and I don't see him yet, but as soon as everybody gets to Sharon, I'm gonna message him and see if he can join us. We're gonna start off with an update for staff wellness from Ms. Turek. You get to go first, so Nurse Turek, if you would go ahead and give us an update.
Wow. Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm filling in tonight for Michaela Ellis. And so we wanted to talk about a little bit about our American Heart Association Staff Heart Challenge. So we've completed that. The National Wear Red Day was supposed to be this past Friday. Obviously, we're all cuddled on our couches, so that didn't quite happen. So we will substitute that day for this coming Friday on the 11th. We're real excited about that. So when we purchased all of those t-shirts, our district is able to donate $2,175 to the American Heart Association. So that was quite an accomplishment, and we were really excited about that. The district is currently participating in the Time Texas Community Challenge. Each week, a staff that choose to participate log in. They can determine what their healthy goals are going to be for that particular week. And they can put that into their program. And as they achieve those goals, they get to win points. And of course, my fish is telling me that it's ready. So I'm going to let that burn for a second. But each week you can earn those points and get weekly prizes and more. And our district is currently in 4th place of all of the districts that are participating. And we have over 159,150 points accumulated. So that's pretty cool. Last but not least on the list to talk about is COVID. We are on the downhill. Thank goodness. Nurses are starting to breathe a little bit. I think teachers, students, and parents are starting to breathe a little bit. As a result, nurses can actually now try to do something fun for our staff, and those that are ready to do it are creating a Biggest Loser on their competition on their campus. So for instance, Burden actually had our first official weigh-in day today, and I have 20 staff members that are participating in our Biggest Loser. So that's really about it.
Awesome, Nurse Turek. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Maybe I can join y'all. I ate like 4 steak dinners last week, so I got a little hibernation stockpile going. So.
Then that's what you need to do. That you need to just come on over, give me your $25, and you can weigh in and you can join our team.
All right, I really may have to do that. That would be awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and update from the Mental Health Committee. So this is the notes that was sent from Ms. Johnson. We're working towards making Liberty Hill ISD a wellness page that will include support for all areas of health, including mental health. We will be a hub for school counseling, social work contacts, as well as areas around Liberty Hill that could provide support for mental health topics and community referral information. The community referral information will hopefully include crisis information, grief and loss counseling, and outpatient providing, which is awesome. We're also looking at community organizations to help grief and loss to support the school district, specifically looking at grief and loss support for the kids. I know that one's a particular one because our school counselors, as wonderful as they are, their specialty is not loss, especially of kids. And so that's one thing that we always really try to provide them some additional support in. So that would be great to have some resources to connect our school counselors with, but then also the school counselors connect students with as well. We're also working on a survey to help assess and understand any mental health needs that kids or families in our school district may have. So that's an update from the mental health team. Anybody have any questions about that? I don't know if I can answer, but I will entertain them. All right, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Shandon. He is our food services director with Liberty Hill ISD. And Shandon, you want to give us an update on child nutrition?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Travis. So the only update I have really is that I started a survey at the high school, currently working on trying to get some feedback from the students on what they like about the child nutrition department, the food that we serve, the services that we provide. Trying to think about a way to engage with the students at the middle schools and at the elementary schools, possibly putting a link on the district site for parents to give some feedback to us based on the feedback that they're getting from their children, because it's kind of hard to get feedback from younger students. Also exploring some ideas about doing perhaps some tastings at some of the elementary schools, and getting some little feedback cards filled out from the students in that way to get some information from them. We started a food drive today, actually, for the whole district. It benefits the Operation Liberty Hill food bank. So all the food goes to local food to families locally. And let's see what else. I think that's really it for now. We're just kind of chugging along, trying to feed the kids, make sure that they all have good, healthy, nutritious meal every day.
Hey, Shannon, just a quick update for the committee. How are y'all doing, staffing wise and being able to serve? I know you guys were hit with COVID a little bit and staffing shortages. You guys doing okay with all that?
Yeah, staffing's actually gotten much better. If I can get the ladies that I have going through the HR process, currently I will be short only 2 people. The ladies in the cafeterias have done a phenomenal job stepping up, doing the job of 2 people in many cases. Sometimes they're so shorthanded that it's absolutely amazing that they can get the kids through the lines and get them fed. Last week, Friday before last, Santa Rita Elementary fed over 500 kids with only 3 ladies. So
wow.
They all work very, very hard, tirelessly every single day to make sure that the kids have, nutritious meal, hot meal, and plenty of stuff to choose from.
And I think about how hard it is for my wife and I to feed 2 kids at home, so if you put that in perspective, so yeah. That is amazing. And I think that's one of probably our under-recognized groups sometimes is the work that they do behind the scenes, because you really don't see it. And you only ever hear about it when something's going wrong, but all the days that are going great, it's just amazing that they're able to put out a great product that the kids enjoy and it's healthy for the kids each day. So kudos to your staff.
Yeah, they really work really hard. They're hustling behind the scenes and right up to the minute. The stress levels can get pretty high, but as soon as the kids walk in, they put a smile on their face and they do everything they can to make that experience for the kid a good one.
Outstanding. All right, we'll definitely give them our shout out.
Yeah, Mr. Motel, I was going to add, one morning we were short on staff at Burden and I tried to help enter numbers, and I was so stressed out because our lead knows every kid by name. So she does it so fast. And I was like, all 800 kids. And I think I have a stressful job, but that morning I was so stressed out and I was like, come back, Tammy, don't ever leave us again.
I think Adrian was there working that day. I believe he told me it was a little bit hectic there for a little bit, but
yeah, by lunch they had it all taken care of, but at breakfast I was like, I don't think we can do this all week because I'm not good at it.
Yeah, figure it out.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah, Sam.
Just on that, well, one thing, comment, and then a question. I want to say also, I don't think parents or at least we don't do enough to say how amazed it would probably be for us to stop and just thank everybody there, given the fact that there's so many free meals this year. And I don't even know what the percentage of the students is that are taking advantage of those breakfast and lunch. But I can imagine it's twice as much as it was the previous years. So just incredible. And I would love to hear more and, celebrate more. I do have a question that I should probably already know, but forgive me for not knowing. So are our children able to put on specific restrictions for like breakfast meals and such? We particularly tell our kids every day to eat something healthy, but they continue to have chocolate milk and trick cereal. And I'm like, literally, how are you functioning when you only are eating the sugary options that are offered for breakfast? So I know we want it to be nutritious, and maybe it's better than nothing. They're skipping meals at home to get that, but just a thought. I don't know what the process is.
Well, the process, Sam, is if a student has a dietary special need, they can fill out a special need form. It has to be signed by a doctor in order for us to feed them a specific menu item. So if they have a gluten intolerance, we can create a gluten-free menu for them. But as far as making sure that the kids make the right choices in line, instead of getting Cocoa Puffs and chocolate milk every day for breakfast, we really try to teach that to them as they come through the line to help them make better choices. But you can get with the cafeteria managers individually and just speak to them, and they can help kind of guide your student or the student, maybe if it's your child, to help guide them a little bit more, maybe give a little bit more attention to that one student.
Also, so that would be, what would be a recommendation, and maybe this goes to Christina, on process, because I know parents aren't allowed in the school still, so we don't have the opportunity to see what they're eating maybe firsthand or with them at lunch, or even to go in and meet those. I don't even know who the people are that serve our kids every day. So I guess I would just say we encourage parents and neighbors that I have at the same question to just email their teacher, their kid's teacher, and ask them to do that. I mean, or is that an administration thing? But I don't know if parents really have the ability. In AISD, we used to be able to put on there like they can't have ice creams or they can't have certain stuff in their little meal things. When they went through, it was restricted. But
so you can put on there for snacks and ice cream. So those you can block from your Skyward account. As far as specific meal choices, I would say contacting your kid's teacher is the first option. It is hard at breakfast because they're not at breakfast duty. So I think just reminding your kids when you come in, because the people at breakfast duty aren't going to know your individual kids need it specifically, but just having the teachers aware of what you're wanting would help for sure when they're in line and lunch, and then just to give those reminders to your kids.
Because like snacks says cereal bowl, and I don't know if that's considered the breakfast. And so I don't even know how that works. Like if we eliminate snack, does that mean they can't get cereal? And how do I get them to have a healthy snack option as a parent if, just a question there. It's not considered cereal, a snack.
I can tell you I have had parents with a lot of my diabetics and various health conditions have spoken to the cafeteria managers directly. So I know that if you reach out to, it might be a call to the school to find out who the cafeteria manager is. But they could also reach out to them by email, would probably be the easiest way to communicate because they're often in the cafeteria working. But the parents could reach out to them and ask some of those questions.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, Sam, I get some of those questions as well. You can always reach out to me, and I can reach out to the manager, and we can make sure that that student is getting guided correctly. You can put certain notices that pop up for the cafeteria manager or whoever's working at the register that alerts them that the student has a dietary need, or maybe there's a preference that the parent has. But again, they're feeding hundreds and hundreds of kids every day. The ones that say, hey, make sure that they choose something healthy are a lot of times over, they don't get seen. But the ones that say something like, alert, egg allergy, those will stop the process.
Understandable. And I know the first option is this training our parents on how to communicate with their kids. And I mean, we are routinely, kids have free will, so we have to recognize that. So I appreciate it, guys. And I actually didn't realize they even went through the register process still, given the no cost. So that's also good to know.
Yeah, we still got to account for all the meals and the food, so that's part of that, right? Yeah, so
Our campuses open now for parents, aren't they? Didn't we open them up around the holidays? Or are they closed back?
I
I
missed-
think
Lunch
it's
is
still
hard.
closed. Oh, they are.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I mean, it'd be great to, if you can go in the morning and walk through the line with them and just say, hey, let's look at your options. And now that you are allowed on campus, and then that could be a chance for you to speak to the cafeteria staff after service is over and just ask questions, but also being able to walk through there and see what their options are. And then I also know that in the past, those options that we consider junk are not quite as junky as what we buy at the store. I wish the store sold what our cafeteria had to sell because they are way more nutritious than what we buy in the store when it comes to cereals and even the Rice Krispie treats. I know Shannon can talk on that. Shannon can talk on that, on the difference of what he has to provide for us versus what we buy at the store. They're not the same.
Yeah, that's correct. All the snacks are what are called Smart Snack approved. So they either are a whole grain product or the first ingredient is milk, fruit, or vegetable. So it might be packaged the same, but however, it's going to be high grain, low salt, low sugar, low fat, whole milk, that sort of stuff. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
I need to
it's not-
do
it's not
more
really-
publicizing some of these good things.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking that it actually makes me feel a lot better about the things that I see my kids choosing at school. I didn't realize that there was a
Mhm.
nutritional difference. So I think that would probably make a lot of parents feel better if they.
Yeah, and less like I need to get in there and start stopping all this.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of concern about ice cream sales at the beginning of the year, and I had to
Mhm.
explain to them that it's not the same ice cream that you're gonna buy at HEB or 7-Eleven down the street. It's definitely low fat, low sugar. Anything that has any sort of bread product, it's going to be high grain.
Shannon, I wonder if there's something you can put together for the principals to send out in their newsletters, just maybe information wise on kind of what you're serving and things like that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then,
PR.
Sam, as a general rule, I would just tell every parent that if it's elementary, reaching out to your teacher to get in contact with the cafeteria. Secondary, reaching out to your administrator or counselor, get in contact with the cafeteria is the best angle. And then, yes, to confirm what Heather said, you guys are welcome to come into the school right now. So feel free to.
And
make it
Christina,
happen.
you said lunch only though, right?
That's where the teachers are with them. Yeah, the teachers, like in the
For
morning.
parents to
they're
come
welcome.
in, I mean.
You
Yeah,
can
we
come
don't
in
have
anytime
parents.
it's open.
You can come in and visit anytime. There aren't parents generally eating in there for breakfast. Parents come every day for lunch. But Mr. Russo, I was going to tell you the easiest way is to sign up to be a watchdog, and I'll introduce you to everybody.
I wanted to, but you have to do the entire workday. It's a
Look at you,
challenge.
Ms. Gomez. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Or have,
All right.
or have your parents sign up to be a volunteer and they can come in and do other things around the campus and get their questions answered then. Or substitute. I mean, that's always an option.
All right, Ms. Gomez, since you were talking, you're going to be next. Physical education. Give us an update on the physical education subcommittee.
Okay, perfect. Well, I missed the last meeting, so we don't have too much to update y'all on since I'm getting caught up here. But a couple of the things that we may need to team up with the other committees on is just the sex ed committee. In the past, that had been taught at 5th grade on up. And now that 5th grade is brought down to elementaries, our PE teachers are just wanting some clarification on their role versus nurses, just because previously that was at intermediate and secondary levels. So just a little bit about that. So it may be something that we need to just team up with the sex ed committee a little bit on. And then just as far as what they're doing as PE coaches right now, they're about to start FitnessGram, which is all 3rd grade on up. Every student will do that either through PE or through athletics. And that is the state fitness assessment that they take. And so they do just different exercises and practice all throughout the year to gear up for that. But that's just their one big fitness assessment that's required by the state. And then our committee needs to follow up on getting together with some physical therapists to possibly come in and train the PE teachers like we had previously discussed. But one of the things that the PE teachers are interested in is just maybe some kind of health curriculum at the elementary level. Right now, it's just whatever they can find and whatever resources they have, but we would love some more specifics on a curriculum at the elementary level. So some of the things that we're looking into.
And Christina, if you want to update your committee on the health curriculum, we're going to probably be working with Catch. Michaela and I were talking about that the other day. And then the same with the elementary, sex ed, which is really not sex ed, it's more hygiene based. But we're working on getting y'all something, hopefully by the end of the month. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Next we have parent and community engagement with Ms. Toomey.
Got it. Okay, so a couple of things that we've been discussing lately are the potential of kind of shifting one of our goals from having more informative events to maybe things that are just a bit more fun and health focused, like more family focused. And one of the things we noticed is that some of the other subcommittees were working towards having some kind of informative events, like mental health seminars and things like that for parents. And so we didn't want to duplicate that. So we're talking about things like a family Zumba event or a skate night or hiking around the school or at a park, something where the community can just get together and have fun as a family and kids can see each other just as a way to engage in something that's healthy and fun. And then so other subcommittees, if you guys have events that you're planning, whether it's even a virtual event or a guest speaker or something to inform the community or inform parents, we want to help you guys get that word out. So let us know if that's something you're putting together, and our committee can kind of come alongside you and help get the word out and try to really make it a full successful event. So that's pretty well all for our committee at this point.
Yeah, it's a great idea to tag team on to some other events, because I know as busy we all are, like when you have another night, it's like, oh, it's another night, right? And so it'd be great to just continue to jump onto that. I know one thing you
we
may
want to
think
spread
about,
them out a little bit too. We want to make sure that they're spaced appropriately.
you may, if you have a contact at each elementary campus, especially, but they're going to be having, kindergarten roundup, and stuff like that coming in April sometime. So those would be great events for people that would be new to the school district or new to the community, and that'd be a great way to start getting them in.
That's a good idea.
And then I know, middle school will have the same thing for like incoming sixth graders. And I know they already had a freshman, or they were supposed to have a freshman night last week. You got moved because of the ice, but did that same thing. So those are good, just kind of entry level events into each campus that are already scheduled. Okay.
And as you're talking about that, one of the things that I was just thinking is we have a Facebook page that doesn't really ever get used. It'd be a great challenge, like with Heart Health Month. Maybe we can get with some of the, PE realm,
No, but a
nurses,
SHAC
things like
Facebook-
that, and just maybe put challenges out there for the community. That's an easy way to start kind of boosting that page and helping educate our parents.
Are you talking about a SHAC Facebook page?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. That might be another thing, kind of what we were talking about, Shannon, about the information to go home with the newsletters. Be that same thing that, if we had like a newsletter that went home about, what's something healthy you could do this weekend with your kids, or might be something the principals could just add a paragraph on to their things they're already sending out.
Okay.
All right. Very good. All right. Next, we have special programs with Ms. Richardson.
Good evening. I'm realizing, Travis, that at the last meeting, I didn't introduce my committee members. So I want to do that tonight, which our committee for special programs consists of Megan Burke, Sam Russo, Erica Waters, and Dee Dee Johnson. And we are meeting this spring with staff members who oversee special education, dyslexia, 504, ESL, and gifted and talented. And then we're also going to explore the social emotional learning initiative from the district. We have not had these meetings yet, so my only report is that we are in the process. We have identified our goals and our questions, and so we're excited about moving forward.
Outstanding. That's awesome. Thanks for introducing everybody. And I know you guys are going to get to work as fast as you can. So the committee I'm a part of is the safety committee, security and safety. And so I do have a few updates on some things that we were working on. We were talking last time about making the front entry vestibules more secure at some of the schools. And so the high school, Santa Rita Middle and Santa Rita Elementary really don't need any work. They're all pretty good. The Hill, Noble, and Liberty Hill Middle School are all getting updates and renovation as part of the renovation process that's happening. We're going to be doing a few things with some push button access, but that's more of it's going to happen with renovations. So we don't want to invest a lot of money just to have it all tore out in 8 months. So that's kind of where we're at with there. Bill Burden and Rancho Siena are getting updates. We have a price that went out with a vendor. We're just kind of waiting on them right now to install push button access. So the receptionist can push the button, unlock the door. There'll be another card reader at the second level. So that way you don't just have to walk to the back, you have a card reader. And so we're working on getting all that set up to make those front entries more secure. We also getting, one of the other things that was brought up was doors being propped open, exterior doors. And if they're not closed all the way, somebody could just come in. So we're working with the vendor right now to try to get an update on all of our doors that have the badge readers, that if they don't latch close, that an alarm would go off. And not like a verbal alarm, but more like a notification alarm would go off saying, hey, this door is open, which we think would be a great safety feature, especially if you have kids or other people trying to prop doors open. We are getting another quote to have all of the doors and the locks retrofitted throughout the entire district. So this is a long-term project. One thing that's happened over time as Liberty Hill has grown, you might need, 6 or 7 different keys to get around your building because well, let's add a lock here, let's add a lock there. So we want to rekey so that way the key process is a lot more secure. But as a part of that, one of the locks we're looking at purchasing into all the doors and the classroom doors, what they call storage room locks, which basically is the door is always locked and you use a key to unlock it, but you don't actually unlock the door. You just use the key to open the door. So the door would always remain locked, which allows it to stay more secure. And then one of the things we purchased for the schools this year was they call it our finger guard. It's meant for little kids so they don't slam their hand in the door. So our teacher would be able to have that finger guard kind of keep the door propped open. Emergency comes, I can just pull the finger guard off and the door automatically closes. So we're working on quotes for that. And that's obviously a big project that would encompass all the campuses. But any buildings going forward are going to be set up like that. So that's a great thing we have. We talked about having more of a police presence. We did add 2 police officers to Liberty Hill ISD Police Department in December. We're going to be adding 1 more this spring, and then we are building them their own location as a part of Liberty Hill Middle School. So they're going to have their own office where they could do training and they can store materials. And then there's a larger plan for as the district continues to expand, when we add, another middle school and another high school, to have them their own location that's more in the central of the district. And so that's a great plan that we're looking forward to going forward the next couple of years. And then the last thing to report on is, so one thing we're trying to do with safety and security is always have, up-to-date training, up-to-date maps, up-to-date information. And as you know, if you print something out, as soon as something changes, you have to reprint it and go put it back up again. And so we're working with a company right now called Crisis Go. And it's an app that all of the staff would put on their phones. And it keeps checklists for them. Like if you have an evacuation, an alert comes up, evacuation, you click on the message on the alert on your phone, it automatically takes you to the next things you should be doing, and you check them off as you go. It has a reunification feature to where, if it's my second period class and I happen to be outside the school, I can do roster activity. I can see who's all supposed to be in my class. I can mark who's not. And so who's ever the incident commander at the front of the school can see which teachers I've checked in, which one haven't, which really speeds up the process. Because right now what happens, we go outside the building, you have the red and the green cards, and you have to wait for somebody to relay it back. So it's all going to be automated. You also have an ability to keep your evacuation maps on there. You can keep the evacuation maps and tie them into the security cameras. So like where I'm at as incident commander, I could look at the map, see there's a camera, click on the camera, and it will show me exactly what's happening at the building at that time. So anyway, we're looking at that. We had an initial meeting with them last week. We have a follow-up with technology this week. And so we really want to get something started this spring on a limited basis for our staff, to where maybe it just does a couple of things, but at least it gets everybody familiar with it, and then have a more extensive training going forward. They also have a student component, and you have to be age 13 or up, but kids are able to download the app as well, and they'll be able to kind of have their student format, their student function. It's obviously not as in-depth as a staff, but it's at least some information for them. And if emergency happens, what are some things that they can do? What are some action steps they can take? So we're really excited about getting that going. So that's an update on safety and security. A lot of stuff happening.
Holy cow, can you lead our subcommittee? That was incredible, bro. It's like so much stuff.
Yeah. No, it's, it takes one step at a time, and it's a team effort, and, we try to do one thing after the other. But, I told my wife a while back, it really worries, like, just with the school safety stuff, like, it really just kind of worries on you that, man, something can happen and we're not prepared. And so we're constantly talking about how to do that. Oh, radio communications. Oh yeah, we're also looking at updating our radio communications across the district to where if I'm at the high school, I can talk to Rancho San on the other side of the district. We have a way to fix that right now. The problem is it doesn't talk with the upgraded technology that's going to be happening across the district as we add campuses over the next couple of years. So we're holding off on that because we want the two systems to be able to talk. We don't want to fix the radios, but then the technology piece isn't kept up to date with it. So those two things have to kind of go hand in hand. So we're kind of at a holding pattern right now. We didn't want to, again, invest a large sum of money only to go, okay, well, now we got to fix this piece too. We want to be able to do them at the same time. So, and then all of our buildings going forward are going to have, they call it a trunking system, which is the emergency services radio. They're going to have an internal radio communication system for our radios, and then they're going to have cell phone extenders for cell phones as well inside every building. But again, we want to tie that into existing buildings as well. And so that's kind of why it takes a little bit delay of trying to get all that coordinated. So that's another exciting thing that we're working on right now too. So, all right.
When some of those things are completed, is there a plan to put that in like Snell's newsletter? Way to really communicate to the parents?
Yeah, I would
update?
say, I think he will eventually. I think right now he's waiting just because we don't have all the finals on when all that can be done and how it's going to be done. But we've been keeping him up to date kind of on what's going on. I think that's the only reason he would say, hold on for just a second until we for sure know kind of when these things are going to be happening. And the other, I haven't, the crisis go and the radios, I haven't actually presented to him yet. The other things he knows about. So those two I haven't, which those are two big ones. So I was waiting to get all information. Then I kind of talked to him and his cabinet team, and then he kind of goes forward with that. So that's probably another reason those haven't been out yet. All right. And then Sam, if you want to give us an update on the Sex Ed Subcommittee.
Certainly. Go ahead and pull over some notes here. We've had a great attendance. I really appreciate the subcommittee. Each of the members have been faithful to attend and to work through some of the stats and the goals. A quick recap, we did meet January 27th, so just a couple weeks ago, and we reviewed the current lifeguard curriculum, and the goal for that was to two purposes. One, to continue to give kind of a better perspective of what's being taught for 7th grade, I guess, is slotted for this current school year, and then to make a determination whether or not that would be the recommended course curriculum, sex ed curriculum for 2023. We discussed went through some of the current plan details, I guess, for the current year, school health advisories, kind of perspective on what's going to take place for sex ed this year, getting that information to parents and kind of the teaching process of that and some of the options behind that. And that conversation also led us to review some additional curriculum. We talked about choosing the best, aim for success, and heritage keepers. We kind of distributed those curriculums to one another to kind of do some research to determine comparisons on the lifeguard curriculum. Comparisons that were still pending were some of the things that were about cost. And kind of as we saw with lifeguard, it's a great curriculum, and it looks like there's a lot of support around that so far within the subcommittee. But we know that other factors come into play, and that's the execution of the curriculum, who's teaching it, how does it get taught across the district, how easy is it for it to get taught across the district, and then number 2, the cost and the funding. And so right now, the current curriculum that the SHAC we approved last year to recommend to the board is lifeguard, and it is free. It's on a grant basis, and it is taught by their volunteers, or their staff. Actually, they're not volunteers anymore. And so those were 2 big benefits that, as we looked at and evaluate some of the other curriculum, they're fully dependent on the district to teach or train people to go ahead and facilitate that. So those are things for us to consider. Again, not only the content, making sure it meets the Texas standards and the community values, but then also looking into the cost and the execution of that content. How is that going to be facilitated? Our subcommittee took an action item to review into more detail all of those options, making that full recommendation. It was desired to have it by today, but don't have enough feedback right now, I would say, for us to comfortably make that recommendation. Unless Travis, you wanted to take a vote today, we can we can do that live. Otherwise, we'll be hopefully prepared by the deadline, which is, I believe, the April SHAC. We also had facilitated a Q&A with Michaela and Stephanie, and it was great having them on the call. Two nurses were able to provide us perspective at the district level and at a elementary level on what is being provided to elementary grades. It was one of the questions that had come up to be discussed. What are some of the things that can be resources supplemented for other grades, since we're only right now focusing on 7th or 8th grade to teach this curriculum. So they went through kind of the hygiene preparations materials that they have utilized. I believe it was just, Stephanie, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was just at the Bill Burden location where we did the 5th grade, which was new this year. And what was the term of that?
That was the LEAP program, Christina.
Okay.
We had a meeting, or I'm sorry, parents, 5th grade parents had like a virtual event, and 5th grade teachers asked if I could create some slides about hygiene and just some common topics of the importance of showering and the importance of wearing deodorant, and for our little girls, for the importance of preparing them for their bodily changes that are going to be happening if they hadn't already, and preparing kits, and very simple little reminders on 2 slides. And that was through the LEAP event at Bill Burden.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So that led us into the conversation about what is being provided. 2 things as an action item for us to continue to work on some type of materials to send out to elementary age parents who are looking for some more supplemental stuff to work with, recommended by the district. We also looked at the need for the subcommittee to review Always Changing, which I believe had been previously used, to my understanding. And this is about a 15 to 18 minute video that is gender specific for teaching on hygiene and some of those sex ed materials. Now, I did review, I believe our subcommittee reviewed that. I think it's very comprehensive and it's great for 4th and 5th grade. But I don't have a recommendation coming from the subcommittee unless, again, this to be discussed here. Some of the items to discuss, where could that be something that could be part of a supplemental link with some materials to parents being sent out by the school saying, hey, we encourage you to review and then consider discussing this video with your children. Some of the key points in it were discussed by our nurse for your students. Otherwise, conversation also led to, what level of involvement, I believe this was discussed earlier in the SHAC too, what level of involvement do our PE teachers need to have when it comes to this for 4th and 5th grade? And can they take some key components of that and share it at the school level? Does it need to be with the nurse? Again, no specific recommendations on any of those. Those are just some of the feedback as options to consider. Last action item that was taken was the subcommittee to kind of review all of that, to continue to bring back any questions, additional questions that were not asked this last time. And there was no specific additional questions for us to pursue as a subcommittee for next month. So that's kind of the review so far, the recap of our last subcommittee meeting. And again, it's open for right now. If our chair decides to go that direction for us to discuss, mainly specifically the Always Changing. What does that look like for this school year, specifically for 4th and 5th graders? What are they going to be getting across the campus? Is it restricted to hygiene? Are we using that video again? And our parents aware? One of the things that I think was the last comment here is, this is a comment, not a recap, personally, is that I was surprised at how much was actually in the Always Changing video, how specific it was for a 4th and 5th grader. So yeah,
Yeah, I think Sam, Michaela and I were talking today that we just need to nail down specifics on between us, what we could do as a district. And I think our goal was to send that out to the subcommittee as just a, hey, here's where we're at and what we're going to try to get through for this year, but then use that as a foundation for you guys to kind of make a recommendation going forward. And we can have basically a K through 12, if you want to call it, program of here's how we support kids. And that's kind of where we're at right now. So I think that's our next step, is to send you guys what we think we could do as a district for right now and allow you to use that as a foundation.
Yep. Now, do you know, and maybe Stephanie can answer this for maybe one location, but do we know what, like, for example, LEAP, that program, I guess, had taken place? Are there any plans for fourth graders to be receiving any kind of sex education in a simplified way or in this hygiene way? Or are there any campus you know of that are already planning on using Always Changing this year as a video for that elementary age?
I can certainly speak for myself. On our campus in general, I usually do our hygiene conversations in October. Unfortunately, because of COVID, that time frame has been skewed the last 2 years. This year, we've held it off because of all of these conversations and topics. So at this time, I can tell you that the nurses are just waiting for their directive. Certainly, I know for myself, I will go into an individual classroom per the request of a teacher. If I have a particularly stinky classroom, I might go in and have the conversation anyway. But as far as sex education, we have not done any kind of formal sex education topics in the 4th grade level across the district. So this curriculum is definitely going to be new for us at a younger level. And even for the elementary nurses, 5th grade is our first year to be doing this curriculum with them. So it used to be Sue Surface at the intermediate and then Melissa Underwood. So this is new for the majority of our elementary campuses. So we're just waiting for our directive.
Which I think, Stephanie, you bring up why Michaela and I were going to try to figure out what we could support this year. Right. And then, like I said, Sam, that can be kind of a foundation for here's what we feel like we support now. Now, if we want to expand on that, what does that look like? Is that something internal that we need to keep creating and developing and bring the nurses together this summer? Or is that something we can purchase and buy going forward?
So for me to take as an action item, does this need to happen? I know we have until April for the recommendation for 2023's, ultimately for the school curriculum for the sex ed. And that if we get in on it soon enough and follow through with that, to my understanding, we can obviously expand that to 7th and 8th grade and maybe even a high school option. But in regards to 4th and 5th grade, does our subcommittee need to meet again this month to be able to have a recommendation sooner for something to be implemented this year?
No.
What is the urgency there?
No. I think you just let us handle that internally this year, just on what we can do. Cause like Stephanie was saying, like we just need to figure out what we can do. We got 3 months of school to be able to get it done by May. Right. And so we need to figure out what can we do? Do we have something that we can take and just get that out? Because we got to train the nurses. We got to get all the information to them. Christina's point, we got to figure out how we're going to bring PE in. So I'd hate for y'all to be pressured to make a recommendation and then we're not even able to do that. So I think just let us maybe get that and then we'll get that to you and you go, oh yeah, that's great. Or maybe change this or change that, but maybe let us drive that part for right now. And then you focus more on going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great.
Sam and Christina, I think too, again, for burden, I would always do those hygiene talks through PE. I think a lot of our other nurses would do the same, but I can't swear to that. So PE was generally involved.
The forum, but not necessarily the presenter or facilitator.
Right, exactly.
Sure. Got it.
Yeah,
Great.
and I would say I've worked at 3 elementaries in our district, and every nurse has done some kind of hygiene talk with 4th grade generally, so that won't be new. I think it's just the 5th grade. What kind of notch we bring that up to is really the direction that they're looking for.
And knowing probably where Michaela and I were talking today, knowing kind of where we're at as far as like SHAC not having, the recommendation, we probably keep it at a much lower level this year of just really basic information with the plan of expanding that going forward. Because that way we can make sure we have everybody's input on that process and we're not overstepping where the SHAC didn't really have a chance to have much of an input on, if that makes sense, Sam. So I think if anybody in the committee is concerned about that, just know we'll share with y'all before what we think we're going to do, just to make sure it stays below that line before crossing. that line.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome. I see a lot of heads nodding for the recorded video.
All right. Okay, so that has all of our subcommittees have shared. Are there any questions or anything we didn't cover you guys want to go over? Stephanie, I think we're all curious how your fish turned out.
It didn't burn. It didn't burn. And if it did, I wasn't eating it. So it was my husband. But I do, Shannon,
sure.
I have one question, and I'm not sure if this is the right forum for this or not, but I wanted to take advantage of having you here. Because I don't know, is carbohydrate counts for our diabetics are really, really important. Elementary level kiddos, unfortunately, they're not independent, so they come to us. So we get our carbohydrate counts from the menus that are listed. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 or 3 circumstances where what we pre-dosed for insulin wasn't, the menu items weren't the same as what was documented. Is there a way that we could potentially just district-wide get a communication out to our managers asking that if there are any last minute changes, because I'm sure it has to do, I mean, look at our HEB shelves. I'm sure it has to do with the supply issue and what's not coming when it's supposed to come or whatever. Is there a way that we can get that communicated to the school nurses? So we can get those changes last minute, because I ended up, I was able to fix it and make the tweak, but a lot of my kiddos will pre-count carbohydrates per doctor orders and give insulin before they eat based off of what's on the menu, and then it changes. So for the most part, it's not usually a huge difference, but it could be potentially. So I didn't know, is that something that you could help communicate with the managers to ask them to communicate with the school nurses on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
They should be communicating with the administration in the building, the principal or whoever their key contact is, any menu changes. And if they're not, I know some of them do a really good job of it, and some of them are very busy again with staffing, and it slips by. But when it comes to a child's health and things like, insulin levels, it's extremely important that they know,
Yes.
they're not going to eat too many carbohydrates. And to your point, yes, it is because of the supply chain challenges that we're seeing across the world right now.
Yeah.
We're getting instituted things that are not acceptable, that we simply can't serve because they don't meet the standards set forth by the USDA. And our hands get tied occasionally, and we want to make sure that they have something, right? So yes, I will make sure that they are all clear on the fact that they need to make sure that gets communicated to. Usually it's the principal. In some cases it's the AP, but they can loop the nurses in at the schools to let them know.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because knowing that there's a menu change is one thing, but needing the associated carb count with it is so important.
Yeah, and I can take a little bit of responsibility in that for last week, because we asked her last minute to switch because of the ice. We anticipated delays, and I didn't even think about how that could impact your kiddos. So that's good for us to know in the future. It was like
we were scrambling, but we got it. We got it. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
All right, another problem solved. As facilitator, I'm going to put a check mark next to good job facilitating.
Awesome.
All right. Well, you guys were amazing for joining here on Monday night. I think it was a great update from everyone. You guys did an awesome job sharing, and I really appreciate y'all's time. And good to know that the fish didn't burn, and that's awesome. So next meeting is April 11th. We potentially may have one a little bit sooner, kind of depending on what's happening with Sam's committee, particularly if we need to maybe have a little bit more in-depth discussion about going forward. But if you don't hear anything, then let's just expect April 11th. At that April 11th meeting, we're probably going to have a little bit more time of just trying to really get a concise summary on what we can present to the board on kind of what our update is for the year. I mean, we don't want to take 30 minutes and review everything we covered for the year, but we probably want each subcommittee to maybe pick 3 to 5 little highlights that they could add to the main summary. And then, we'll have another, a number of notes and things like that if we want to attach, but maybe just some highlights that we can share out. And then, of course, one of those is going to be the recommendation for the sex ed curriculum for the next several years. So just be thinking about that in your subcommittees. All right, well, go enjoy dinner, go enjoy your families. It's great to see y'all.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
bye, everybody.
Thank you.